This week, Conversations with Anglicans heads to Tobago, where I had a chat with Dr. Roslyn Alfred-Demas. She works at the Scarborough General Hospital and specializes in internal medicine. We had a wonderful chat about eating practices in Trinidad and Tobago and ways in which we can improve our diet and thereby improving our health. So you won't want to miss this episode. So please stay tuned. Roslyn, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I really do appreciate it.
No problem. You're quite welcome, Ayanna.
Well, the reason why I reached out to you is because you posted a really interesting article that you wrote about healthy eating. And that was one of my, I don't want to say New Year's resolutions, but it's just something that I wanted to work on. And a lot of the things that you had in the article really intrigued me. So I was like, I need to reach out to Dr. Roslyn to chat with her about this. So I'm really glad you agreed. And I really hope that those who are watching could really benefit from the information that we talk about today. So I'm really excited. I'm excited. But I want to get to know you a little bit. You are currently living in Tobago. So what is the weather like in Tobago right now?
Actually, it's pretty sunny and clear. We haven't had rain today.
Have you been to the beach since the beaches have reopened?
Yeah, definitely about 3 times. Hopefully we'll go later.
Nice. I know in Tobago, the usual tourist attraction is like Pigeon Point and these kinds of places. But can you recommend at least two places in Tobago that people may not readily know about to go and visit?
Okay. There's the horseback riding. That's sort of a lot of Caribbean islands are advertising now. So in Buku, they would have recently put up the I Love You Buku sign down by the multi-purpose facility. And just above that, there's this business called Healing with Horses, and they take you on a nice ride, including a beach walk. It's really enlightening. And even for kids, they have ponies. You have interactions where you can feed the pony, and you go through Buku, which is a fishing village, pretty popular. And there are lots of nice, beautiful additions there. So while you're doing the horseback riding, you have this scenic route. I mean, my favorite part of the island is really Castara, that side. The beach there is lovely if you're into fishing, especially with little kids. And a lot of people don't know, but if you come up with a club, say from church or with your family, there is this new obstacle course, Definite Fitness, located in Lambo, and that's really fun. So wow. I would recommend that. It's really fun.
All right, cool. So something different to do rather than the usual beach and that kind of thing, something else that you could do in Tobago. So Dr. Roslyn, how has Anglicanism impacted you as an individual?
Okay, I would say that I have always been blessed to have a very warm family at church, even, in Tobago, and even when I had moved to Trinidad for school, and then when I went on to Jamaica, I've always been able to find a warm Anglican church family. And throughout my life, I have met persons in church who would have prayed for me. Remember, in the Anglican church, prayer is a very significant thing. And for some reason, I've always met someone who would pray for me and guide me along the way. And doesn't matter which Anglican church I go and where I am in the world. And I think that definitely is a blessing. We talk about the apostolic faith on people, and I've definitely experienced that, so much so that when you're not going to church for a while, you feel as if something is missing. So I can definitely say within the Anglican church, I've met a Christian family that I've been able to rely on no matter where I am. And it always draws me back to church. Apart from the fact that we also have a very lovely hymnal, the CPWI, with really lovely words. And but yeah, I have a really warm Anglican church family.
That's really
Definitely
fantastic.
that.
That's fantastic to hear. You know, and I understand the importance of prayers, keeping you buoyant throughout, particular times in your life. So I'm glad to know that, wherever you went, you were able to find that. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So you are a doctor, you specialize in internal medicine. Share with us who or what inspired you to start this journey in medicine.
Okay, well, my mom is actually a registered nurse. She's also a midwife, and she would have become a district health visitor. So many times, especially when she was working in the district in the community, I would go to work with her. Right, that was a common thing. Sometimes I would even go on visits when I'll stay in the car while she's doing her visits during holidays. And I always had a deep interest in science, especially biology. That was my favorite subject. So I guess it was only natural that I chose to do into medicine. And then during my undergrad, I would have met really awesome professors and consultants in internal medicine. And then I chose that route to specialize. And I've always wanted to help people. I mean, I believe in any profession, you can help people, but I guess my deep love for science and the exposure with my mom as well would have been that main driving force.
So you would have studied at the University of the West Indies?
Yes, I did my undergraduate at what we call the medical bachelor surgery at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. I did my internship between Port of Spain and Montauk Hospital, came back to Tobago for a year and worked in internal medicine. And then I went on to University of West Indies, Mona, Jamaica, and worked at the University Hospital of the West Indies, where I specialized in internal medicine. In between, I would have gone to Canada, Sunnybrook, and done electives as well. And then I came back.
Have there ever been any moments where you're like, I don't know about this medicine thing, I think I want to chuck it in and do something else? Have you ever had a moment like that?
No, I've never had that moment. No, actually, no. I'm that's probably a blessing as well. I've never had that moment when, from the time I started, I always had a passion. I felt like, thank God you put me here. Like I never had that feeling, and I still don't have that feeling. I mean, I would miss the having for surety have that public holiday off, but I've really never had that feeling. Hope I don't have it, but
I'm glad. I'm really glad to hear that.
You would have your up and downs, things that you might not like, but to say wonder what that other profession, no. Only in high school, at one point I wanted to be a biochemist, at another point a lawyer, but otherwise, once I started medicine, there was no turning back in my mind.
Lovely. So we are heading into some people say through the pandemic. What lessons have you learned throughout this time that we've been in this pandemic?
Well, I have learned that your health is very important, right? And that as a world we are one. Nobody is immune to any particular thing, no matter where you are. 3, I've learned that wow, technology has come a far way in uniting us, and how important mental health and togetherness is, and family, how you cherish family and how you make at home fulfilling. But all in all, at least in terms of my line of work, I've learned that God really has the final say, and that on life, we are really just merely humans, just his children, and he has the final say every week. I have to remember that he really has the final say. You can make all the plans, but wow, yeah.
Exactly. So as you spoke about your health, I really just want to jump into the article that you would have written and talking about healthy eating, right? Yeah. Because I mean, our Sunday lunch, you have macaroni pie, we have potato salad, we have fresh salad, we have vegetable rice, we have chicken, pork, That's Sunday lunch. And then let's not talk about what we have for breakfast. If it's doubles, if it's pies, if it's, so many things. So I'm pretty sure that some of us are like, you know what, we really want to try to eat healthy this year. So one of the first things that I want to find out from you though is what are some of the unhealthy eating practices of Trinbagonians? I mean, I know I would have mentioned some, but are there any others that you may have come across?
I mean, what I would say is that the use of refined flour, our sugar, and our portion sizes, right? Well, you said unhealthy eating, so I'll just stop right there. But that's really what it's centered around: the flour, the sugar, and the portion sizes.
So so I guess I could understand about portion size and I can understand about sugar. But talk to me about refined flour. What is that, and what is an alternative to refined flour?
Okay, so you see, what a lot of persons think is that once you don't have flour in your diet, then you can't really attain satiety, meaning you won't be filled, right? Now, those things fall under the food group as we go back in school, carbohydrates, right? You have your simple carbohydrates or simple starches, you have your complex carbohydrates or complex starches, right? Now, the simple carbohydrates, where the refined flour, so all those baked goodies, like you mentioned, doubles, pastry, dumpling, bread,
yes,
all those things, even pasta, your macaroni pie, those things, they don't really fill you, they are absorbed very quickly. They spike up your glucose level, your sugar levels quite quickly, what we call the glycemic index. And then you metabolize them, and then they give you some energy, and then you're hungry again, right? But it's not that they are necessarily bad. You can make them healthier. So for instance, if you do bread, you can increase the fiber content. So you could put in your chia seeds, your flax seeds, little pumpkin seeds and all of those things. Sometimes you can make a nut flour where you have the little grated coconut husk or almond nuts, and you grind those, and you're using less flour. People talk about cassava flour and other types of flour, so you end up using less. In the same breath, you really want to portion that bread slices. So I would say 2 for the day is fine. And
slices of bread, Dr. Roslyn, a day?
Yeah, but you remember we're going to have different alternatives. Now it depends. Okay, if I am talking about the healthy eating for all on a general level. Now, if you are going to prepare your bread, as I've said, right, then you need to get away with the 4 slices. But if it's white bread, no, and especially if you have a sedentary lifestyle and you're not making the effort to exercise, especially if you have comorbidities and you're getting older, you really need to make that. So there are healthy things that you can do so that you can enjoy the bread, right? And at the same time, let's say, they say if you toast it as well, at the same time, let's say you take out a portion of porridge. They really say try not to do more than a cup, because at the same time, oats are starchy. Now, complex carbohydrates are like your ground provision, right? They are more complicated, complex in their structure. They don't spike your glucose as much. They take a longer time to break down. And a portion is still a pot spoon, right? You're not going to fill half of your plate with a ground provision, nevertheless. But then what brings you satisfaction is really protein. That is what's going to fill you. And of course, you're hydrating during the day with water. And the same sort of nuts and grains. So you put those in, and those things will help to improve your satiety, so you're not always hungry. And have you ever noticed, Ayanna, when you get a good workout, you find you feel really hungry after, or more thirsty?
Yes.
You feel hungry after? Oh,
I'd go and eat like some Dixie biscuits or something like that, because
really?
hungry.
I find I don't feel hungry. I feel really thirsty.
Well, thirsty, yes, but then after you're warm down and thing and you settle down, it's like you just feel your belly. I just feel my belly grumbling, so I just go on some Dixie biscuits. So wait tell
Okay,
me no,
so
no.
I was just trying to find other ways so that you're not as packaged, but anyway, right. So when you're preparing your bread, try to put in fiber and complex stuff so
Right.
that the amount of refined flour or white flour that you end up using is less. Even whole wheat flour is flour. So try and buy the ground flax. Put that in. Throw that in. Throw in the chia seeds in your bread. Right? So you end up using less white flour and less whole wheat flour. Try the experiment with the cassava flour. And people would say these things are expensive, but I still say the ground flax is not expensive. Or you could even buy your flaxseed in bulk and then you put it in the blender and make your own brown flax, right?
Wow.
And you can even make bread with just the flax ground and water and yeast. I've tried it. And baking flour. Yeah, and it actually rises. It's nice and crunchy, kind of looks like a kind of like you're in an Italian restaurant, even in color.
Right.
And it goes nice with fish. I've even made it very flat and roll it out and cut it in small squares before I put it in the oven, and I have flax crackers without flour. I've been really experimenting so I could at least give patients advice.
All right. I think you said a couple of things there, Dr. Roslyn, that that I really have to shift from, because you just said whole wheat flour is flour too. Is that refined flour as well? Is that what you're
But
saying?
it still has a fairly high glycemic index. So what I'm saying is when you're using it to bake, try to put in some flax, some ground flax, and the chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, all those things you can ground as well. You could ground almond nuts and put them in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you use the term glycemic index. What exactly is that, and why is that important?
Okay, so the glycemic index is the ability of whatever you consume to cause your glucose level to spike, whether you're diabetic or not. It causes a rise in your glucose, and your naturally occurring insulin would work. And it happens a few hours after. And it's normal for that to happen. But you have foods with high glycemic index, medium glycemic index, and low glycemic index, right? So the simple carbohydrates like the white flour, like the rice, like the pasta, even the cocoa, cornmeal, they would have high glycemic index, right? And then medium would be like your ground provision. Probably if you want to buy like hemp seeds and oats. And then low would be certainly more like your vegetables and melangen and those sorts of things, right? Even sometimes some certain ground provision, like if you especially have the sweet potato and the yam, some of them might also fit into low glycemic index, right? So even some of your fruits are very sweet. Look at mango. Sometimes you ripe mango, if you have a lot of it, and outside of the portion, you end up spiking your glucose. And all these things breed inflammation, and that's the whole nature of chronic disease. Right? That's it. Yeah. So it's what they say is to try to go towards foods with medium glycemic indices and low glycemic indices, right? I mean, if you want to, I mean, sometimes, yes, you'll have a little ice cream for your birthday and you have a little water and you would have exercise in the morning. So, of course, you just kind of use your wisdom and you don't overdo, right? So that's the whole importance now. And that's where the whole Healthy Plate initiative is sort of trending. We're not really into calorie counting and starving yourself. Nobody's asking you to starve up. Of course, by all means, you could have everything. But certain things, then you put them in a nice portion. And then you try to increase those things that would fill you, which is like your protein, so your beans, your body, you fill up that the half of that plate with vegetables, salad, your nuts and your grains, you sprinkle your fruits. Look at how many things I called. And there are certain vegetables that are more filling than others. If you prepare melangen, that's filling. Body, very filling. Cauliflower, broccoli, you could cut up a whole cabbage and saute it nicely with a little olive oil, or just saute it with a little water. All those things are filling, right? So by the time you're ready to now attack your carbohydrates, you're full. You can't complete that pie. And it's the same way you go to a restaurant and you share out your food. So especially when you come to the Magdalena, you start with the salads and the fruits and the little nuts, and then you go by the beans, and then you go by the meat, and then you go by the carbohydrates. And you can eat that way as well. And you realize, wow.
All right, well, let's get a little bit more specific with the healthy plate. So we have a plate, right? So we're divided into half, quarters. How are we dividing it?
So you have a circle or a square. So you could divide it into half. So you have your bottom half, and then the top half, you could divide that into 2 quarters, right? So half of that plate is your, what we call your plant-rich food. So your vegetables,
right?
Your salad, your nuts, your grains, your fruits, your seeds. You sprinkle that on. And then the top quarter, one of that would be your carbohydrates. So your macaroni pie, your dumpling, your cocoa, your breadfruits. Let's say now that you cook macaroni pie, you cook potato, you cook macaroni salad, you cook breadfruit and cocoa. You have a serious dilemma there.
What fit in that quarter?
Well, everything must fit in that quarter, same, without a little spice. And you see, again, I say, you don't want to say, I can't have it. I can't have allowing you to have it. Just fit it in that quarter. Right? And then the next half, the next quarter is your protein. So if you're vegetarian, people would just put an extra body or beans or peas in that, or they could put their meat. Now, be careful with dressings. So again, you have healthy oils like olive oil or avocado oil or canola oil, like you make your little sauce. You could choose to even cut up some avocado. You could put a little, if it's for a little child, you could put a little bowl of peanut butter there for them if they want to put their nuts in there, or they want to stick their carrots in there and have it to make it interesting. So you have those healthy fats, and they say your sauces should be like a thumbprint, right? Because condiments, so you might be eating healthy and you realize, why am I not maintaining that healthy waste? And it might be that you're really soaking that down with the stew gravy and the garlic sauce and the ketchup, then the ketchup sweet and salty. And all of these things you could experiment on your own. You could plant, and when you have some time, even once a month, do a little experiment and you decide what you're good at, what tastes good for everybody, and you come up with, a nice healthy plate. And you try to apply that throughout the day.
Right.
As well. Yeah.
Now, some of us, we buy lunch, right?
Right.
We buy lunch. So we rush out somewhere and we buy lunch. And how can we make these healthy choices now? Or how can we have that healthy plate when we buy lunch? What should our mindset be when we're buying lunch?
Same thing. So you can ask them, you can tell them, just put a pot spoon of the rice for me, please. Or let's say, okay, you want the rice and the macaroni. You could tell them, put half of the pot spoon for the rice, half of the pot spoon for the macaroni. So we're using a pot spoon as our quarter. That's generally quarter of the plate. And then you go on to your vegetables and your the rest of the stuff. Now, let's say probably it's a fixed meal, because sometimes, you probably order it. I would say you can then plate it out when you get back to the office, or you could decide to just eat it and then you have the rest tomorrow. But you have to know yourself, because it's hard to see a nice big box of pilau. And you say, and then when you go back to the office, you just go back in and you go back until you reach home with none. So you have to know yourself, and you have the ability to do that, or you can make an arrangement. If it's somebody you could tell them, listen, I'm trying something here. Just try to put spoon or the pilau for me, And then, you know, we go from there. And you could put more coleslaw, you could put more chicken. I don't mind paying extra. If you know you can't pay extra, well, you just have to have that endurance. And you know, when you keep at it, after a while, you realize your stomach kind of stops, you know, when you realize after a while, you can't have so much rice in one sitting. And you get so used to it. Of course, the Lord doesn't put us through anything that we can't handle. So you pray about it, you put him in the Healthy Plate initiative, and you go with him, and then you could have friends. Have some friends as well. Look up support groups on Facebook. Don't try to do it alone. I find that really helps me in my journey and reading up on what I do. And I didn't do it alone.
Well, you're talking about the support system in terms of
yes.
Yeah.
So you could tell them at work, let me try this month now. Let me do it. Because you might feel bad sit down there eating your stuff and you see all kind of things pass in there. Even when you go KFC, you can choose to say, okay, I'm not doing fries today. I'm not ordering fries. Mind you, you know, they do put the bread and the chicken in the flour, but you could still try, because I mean, you would buy it for your kids sometimes. So you could say, I'm not having fries.
Mm-hmm.
Not. The coleslaw is sweet too, so you could really just, and I'm not having the biscuit, right? I'm not gonna have the mashed potato or the mac and cheese. I would just do the chicken. I'll do in the coleslaw. And when I go home, I'll put some melon with there. So, you know, if it's once a week, and then the reverse plating if you're in a restaurant. Of course, it's good to know where you're going. I mean, if it's a surprise dinner, well, you know, you just kind of try. And once you get it just, you start getting used to it.
When you say reverse plating, what you mean exactly?
So with the reverse plating, I'm sharing out if you're in a buffet style, you share out the vegetables, the salad, whatever fruits they may have, then you go by the beans and the peas, then you go by the meat, and then you leave the carbs for last.
Okay.
Don't go and get an extra plate. I didn't mean to get an extra plate for the carbs alone. I'm meaning that you're going to try to fit whatever space you have left in there.
And you mightn't have room for the carbs when you finish. So you're saving your carbs for last.
Yeah.
All right. You know, I think that's important as well, because, and I like what you say about the support, because, you know, if you go by a family for some kind of event or something like that, and, you know, we like to have spreads, right? Yeah. And, you know, the grannies like to say, but you're not eating, why don't you eat this? Why don't you eat that?
And that's hard. It's hard. So what you could do, what you could do, okay, you say you're going out for lunch, and you know your granny wants you to try everything. Then for breakfast, you could skip the carbs. For breakfast, just have the egg, right? You could have your cup of tea, you could control at home. So then when you go by granny or your friend or whoever, well, we know in Tobago we haven't started a harvest, but you could still not overdo it. You could have a little bit, everything. And then when you go for dinner, then you're trying to have something small as well.
Right.
And then of course you're exercising as well.
Yes. So it really is, Dr. Roslyn, is really about a whole different mindset. It's really about, you know, we make automatic choices with our food because this is what we are accustomed to. We grew up like this and so forth. But now we really have to put thought in what we eat. We really have to. Wow.